All right, let's see if this thing gets rolling for us. Make sure I got all the settings up and running. Got some people already watching. That looks good. Oh boy. All right. Let's take a look at the social medias to see if anybody has any questions. You know, the notice got up late on the Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. I apologize for that. I have been swamped today. Got home from vacation, so just a little bit behind the curve today, but still going to get you guys the live stream, and then probably tomorrow or the day after, we'll get both this recording and July's recording posted up and get you guys squared away with those recordings of the lives. So take a look at the comments already. We got some pouring in here. It seems Joe Haney has joined the chat. That's interesting. We'll see how this goes. I imagine someone's going to screenshot something and they're going to be like, look, Leone, how's it going? There will be no red anodized parts to speak of. Hector's joined. Hello, Hector. I got a question, Hector. Are you do you happen to be running 3 Honda Civics with spoon engines? We'll see who can get that. Everybody have a good first half of the year. Got through July. Summer slump is pretty well and prevalent for a lot of gun manufacturers, but for LMT we've been doing all right, keeping pretty busy. So let's see here. Hector had a question. Says, I understand the New Zealand barrel was optimized for the 77 Mark 262, and the 12.5 spec war was optimized for A55 Alpha 1. What specific round are the other barrel lengths optimized for? So that's a good question, Hector. And your understanding is generally there. Mainly our barrels are optimized across the board for NATO spec ammunition. So A55, 193, 262 is also a NATO spec ammo. That 855 Alpha 1, another NATO spec ammo. So while they are, individualized, like the spec war barrel wasn't optimized for 855 Alpha 1. We didn't change anything between a 12.5 barrel and a 14.5 barrel for 855 Alpha 1. It just shoots good in that. Likewise, when we accuracy test anything, unless there's contract specifications for accuracy with certain ammo, everything gets tested with the 77 grain for accuracy. So that's where we get that from. The 10.5, 14.5, 11.5, 16-inch, they're all designed to run with NATO spec ammo. And you might see some issues, especially on the Piston gun. You might see some issues with low pressure ammo, commercial ammo like 223, or any steel case ammo, UMC from Remington, Winchester White Box. I know I've shot a lot of that in training and had issues, training and testing. You can make the guns run with them super reliably, but there are some them some things there, because we do gas them for NATO ammo. Oh, let's see here. Leone, I just bought a GGP lower, but I plan on buying everything else LMT for my rifle build. Am I going to run any issues if my lower is a different brand, but everything else is LMT? GGP. I guess I'm not familiar with that brand, or that acronym for the brand. Leone, put in there what GGP is, but otherwise, if it's a mil-spec AR, you shouldn't have any issues. Our MRP uppers are all made to work with mil-spec lowers, and will have zero issues. Now, what you might run into, that's a common thing when building ARs, is something called tolerance stacking. Tolerance stacking is the scientific art designed by military-trained astronauts at NASA of making two identical parts or parts of equal, functionality that are in spec not work together. So that being said, you might run into some issues there. That's why in some cases it's better to buy a gun than build a gun because of tolerance stacking. So just keep that in mind. You shouldn't have any issues, but it does exist, and it's not. Oh, Grey Ghost Precision, thank you. Not an issue of one company out of spec or another. I've seen that where people buy an LMT lower and they say, my gun doesn't cycle right. It's because of the lower. No, that's just one part of it. There's the upper, the bolt carrier group, the buffer tube, the operating spring, all that stuff goes into it. And, there's a million reasons why a gun can't run. And it could be a combination of a lot of stuff. So, Ricky, Nova's doing great. Hopefully we'll get it out here shortly for another couple cruises before the weather starts to turn. I love that car. Very good investment. I know a lot of people don't like cars as investments, but I don't mind them. Hector got it. Thank you, Hector. Hope they've got Motec system exhaust. All right. We'll get going here. Let's see how many people we got checking out the live. We appreciate everybody stopping by. There's 11 people watching. It's early, though. I'm not late to the show. Most times you guys are here before me. Also, Leone says, how do I decide whether I should go with a 14.5 carbine or a 14.5 mid-length barrel? Well, what I would simply do is first decide what are you doing with the weapon. Is this the end of your build? Are you going to suppress it? If so, what kind of suppressor are you going to use? And what are your performance expectations? Those are all things to take into consideration. What is the difference between a carbine and mid-gas barrel? You're looking at the... Stand by, I got barrels for you. So, here's a carbine gas barrel. This is an old 6.8. 6.8 is a lower pressure round than 5.56, so therefore it needs a little bit shorter of a gas system. So this is a 16-inch barrel with a carbine gas system. Most of our 16-inch barrels will run on a mid-length gas. So this is obviously a piston block that's on here, not a regular DI gas block, but there's your difference in gas length from essentially from mid to carbine. So you got, it looks like about 1.5 inches difference there. Let's see if I can get this view good for you guys. So you can see the gas block from the shoulder right here. Okay. So what are you gaining or losing with carbine versus mid? So if you are going after a smooth operating flat range gun that has the lowest felt recoil and all that stuff, obviously start with the mid gas. What you're losing there, why it's smooth and why it's low felt recoil, is you have less gas coming back to the bolt carrier group to operate the weapon system. That gas is at a lower pressure, which means there's a chance that it could not cycle as well. Obviously, it's still going to run good and all that stuff, but in adverse conditions like dirt, freezing rain, something like that, mud, you need gas pressure to blow that bolt carrier group back and clear up any jams or anything like that. Carbine is what we started with, and it's still available, but it's one of those things that I wouldn't necessarily want to add a suppressor to permanently. Now, if you're going to be running unsuppressed, probably the carbine's the way to go. If you're running suppressed, you obviously are going to be adding a little gas pressure to the system, and a little bit of dwell time there will be compromised or will compromise with the suppressor system. So it looks like you said you're in California, so no suppressor. I would go with the 14.5 carbine. If it were me, you're not going to lose any performance on accuracy. You're going to gain reliability going with the 14.5 carbine. So that's where I would go. Hector, yes, to answer your question, this live and the last live will be dropped on YouTube probably the next day or so. Meant to do the last live today, just got behind schedule. So, John O says I'm dumb and didn't realize these aren't on YouTube anymore. John, it's not your fault. We've brought them over here the last since May. We did our first one here, and that was basically to avoid the restrictions that YouTube is putting on us. So back here, I've got two guns that might talk about today. And one of the things that I couldn't do on YouTube was show you guns or even gun parts, because YouTube would pull them down during live streams. Now I can take this post and drop it up onto the YouTube channel after it's done, and you relive it there, and you can rewatch it, gain all the useful information. So, alrighty. Let's see. So, no other quick questions. We'll take a look. Might just get started. We'll see how many other people are hanging out. And a couple more. What that means that you guys aren't wasting your time in here. You're out doing fun stuff like kayaking, or I don't know, spraying your cat in the yard or something, or I don't know, whatever you do wherever you're at. Raking your rocks. I know there's some guys from Arizona that watch this, and that's what they do in their free time. Us real Americans, we go out and mow grass, usually shirtless with beer. Guys that live down in Arizona, they just get that little wooden rake with the sticks on it, the little dowel rods, and they just make sure that their rocks are good, and then they yell at people who step on their rocks. But they usually have a walking path that goes like this through their rocks up to their front door, but they don't use that. They just go up the driveway. So, Arizona people, I don't know. Leone, anything else over going with Piston over DI? Cleaner reliability. So the whole Piston or DI, internal, external. Chris, I know you're probably going to watch because you're bored. internal or external piston is what Chris Bartacci over Small Arm Solution calls it, and there is a reason for it. But direct impingement, gas operated versus piston operated, is how the rest of the world looks at it. So gas still comes through the chamber on a traditional piston gun. Just because it's not coming through the gas tube, like this, doesn't mean that gas is completely gone. When it runs through a piston system, I don't have any piston barrels that are fully assembled in here, but that gas, when you have a piston barrel, there's an op rod and a spring that come through here, and obviously no gas travels down there. All the gas stays up here. However, these are higher pressured systems. Because of that, the standard carbine barrels, like a 60-inch or 14.5, they run with a standard carbine 3-ounce buffer. That's because there's not a lot of pressure on them, and they don't require that counter mass to control the recoil. Now, on our piston guns, because the gas pressure stays right here and expands and really shoves that rod back into the upper receiver to start the cycle of operations, we utilize the H2 buffer in our recoil systems. That helps tame down the recoil a little bit. Now, because of that, like I said, this doesn't make it necessarily cleaner. It does run with less fouling because it's not directly dumping gas and carbon into the bolt carrier group. But you still have gas pressure that builds up, follows the path of least resistance. After that bullet goes down the bore, the casing is out of the chamber through its ejection and extraction cycle. There might be gas pressure that travels backwards through the chamber and will still deposit carbon and fouling on top of your magazine and on top of your rounds, which ultimately is where a lot of your cycle problems or reliability problems will come from. So yeah, you might have a cleaner system on one side, but you have more moving parts on the other, where if a DI fails, it can turn into a single shot rifle. You got to cycle the charging handle every time to rack the rounds, but you'll still be able to shoot. On a piston system, it could jam up. Now, I haven't seen it on an LMT. I have seen it on some other brands where it'll come back and break the bolt because that op rod's coming back whether the bolt wants to unlock or not. So it's really user preference. I prefer DI if you care. I don't know who this guy Joe Haney is, but that's cool. I'm about to tell you guys the pros of choosing an LMT suppressor over our competitors. Just wait for me to gather myself. It's kind of what I'm doing. Making small talk with you guys. JW, how much shorter is the 6.5 14.5 MRGGA gas system than the 20-inch? So on our 308 rifles or that system there, we run two different gas systems currently. Or is it three? Two. So we run two different gas systems. We have what we call a carbine, which actually utilizes the mid-length gas tube off the 5.56, which don't let that get you confused, or let it, I don't know. So there's a mid-gas and a rifle gas, but they're not like the mid and rifle that are on our 5.56. They're a little bit different. So, but the 14.5 isn't using a longer gas system. It uses the same length gas system as like our 13.5 308 barrels. So very good recoiling. It's a puppy to shoot full auto, which sounds weird that you would shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor precision weapon system on full auto, but I've done it, and it's cool. It's a great way to waste money. But yeah, same gas system that you could buy and replace components on as well as our 308. So I guess we'll just jump into it, huh, Joe Haney? Let's take a look here. couple more viewers again. So what I am going to do is talk to you a little bit about LMT AT and who LMT AT is and what are they doing for you as a consumer in the industry, and so on. So LMT is Advanced Technologies. It is I know Chris is the GM over there, and he hates when I call it a sister company. I think it's funny. But it's a sister company or a ancillary brand to LMT Defense. So you got LMT Defense. Obviously, what do we make? We make weapon systems. We make 308 rifles, 5.56 rifles. We make grenade launchers. We also do some other manufacturing as Lewis Machine and Tool Co. still for OEM manufacturers and such like that. But what LMT Advanced Technologies was developed for, and it shares common ownership with LMT Defense, but it's a separate entity, separate company when it comes to operations and stuff like that. But what they are focused on is technology enhancements or advancements, obviously advanced technology, to our weapon systems and other weapon systems in the market, not just our rifles, the LMT rifles. So one of the first products that was released actually was not the Ion 30 suppressor. It was the shot counter that goes into the Estonia weapon system. So if you notice, if you've bought a complete LMT firearm in the last, call it 6 to 8 months, you may have gotten the new pistol grip on there. So we used to use an LMT marked Ergo. Great grip, had good texture, but it was just lacking any expandability. So what we opted to go with was we designed our own grip at LMT Advanced Technologies that would house our shot counter. Now the shot counter is not just your traditional shot counter. There are some on the market that have been around for a while. It handles the recoil impulse and says you fired once. Excuse me. Or it'll tell you how many shots you fired. So this doesn't just count shots, but it also keeps track of how many shots you fired over how much time. Now, what does that tell you? If you have ever shot a firearm doing any sort of rapid fire or anything like that, you'll know that if I shot 5 rounds through this barrel at 1 round a minute, it might warm up enough that I could feel it, okay? But just barely. It might stay close to room temperature. Now, if I shot 5 rounds out of this in 5 seconds, every subsequent round is going to increase the temperature of this barrel. Now, what do we know about steel? How is it manufactured? How is it recycled? Heat. So making steel, they have to get it to a molten state. Then they're able to, put it into bar format, which is how our barrels come in, just bar stock, and then we will cryogenically treat them, distress relieve them, and then bring them in after that, and we'll put them through our barrel manufacturing process where we drill a hole, put the rifling in, then profile them, all that stuff. So we no longer buy, in most cases, pre-drilled blanks. They are bar stock, and that's how they begin their life. And then you recycle steel. You do the same thing. You cut it, melt it down, do whatever you got to do, torch it. So heat kills steel. So the hotter you get this barrel over a certain period of time means that you are heating the weapon system up or heating the steel up and potentially degrading its lifespan. So Um, what the shot counter is going to do is take that and put it into an algorithm. It's going to tell you that if you're smoking the barrel, I mean, you could shoot 15, 17, 25,000 rounds in a weapon's life and not really degrade its performance. But I could probably take with 2,500 rounds in a full auto loader, ruin a barrel. Because the amount of heat that we're putting through that barrel is going to make it droop. It's going to really wear down on the rifling. And the rifling is the key ingredient to making an accurate weapon system. You really need to make good contact with the projectile itself. And you want the lands and grooves to really contact the projectile in a way that doesn't allow gas seepage or inconsistent flight down the barrel and the rifling, and then when it leaves the muzzle. So you don't want to do any of that. Plus, it'll also erode the throat, and the throat is where the bullet jumps into the rifling. So if it doesn't make a right jump or too much jump or not an accurate jump into the rifling, then you could have problems with accuracy again. So the shot counter that LMT Advanced Technologies developed gives you the amount of shots that you've put down, as well as what the kind of life cycle of that weapon system is. Also in there, we've built in some into the maintenance program that the armorers can use with this is kind of a logistics schedule for certain items that wear after time. Ejectors, extractors, operating springs, where you should start gauging parts for wear, like trigger guards, trigger pins. With a lot of full auto fire, trigger pins, hammer pins can start to oblong those holes because it is a steel rod or a steel pin in an aluminum lower. So steel on steel would be the optimal, but that's something you need to look for with a machine gun. Also, the pistol grip serves as inventory control. So you can assign that pistol grip, which has a built-in serial number. You can assign that to a user, and then it'll pass in and out of the different types of setups that we have for controls, inventory control. So you've got a frame that can be built into a door, so when that weapon system is passed through that door, it'll log the weapon in or out because of the chip that's in the pistol grip. And then likewise when it comes back in. You can put it on a rack, and it can tell you which weapon systems from your computer have been checked out and which ones haven't. So there's a lot that goes into this shot counter, and it's unfair to even call it a shot counter because it's not. It's a maintenance tool, and we're working on a little bit of a commercial product for it, seeing how we can better commercialize it, because right now it's designed for large-scale uses like at police departments or, in this case, the Estonian Defense Force uses it in the variety of armories that they have. So that's what LMT AT's first product was that shot counter. Most notably now on the commercial market has been the Ion 30. Ion 30 is their suppressor, and by the name, it is a 30 caliber suppressor, which means it's designed for multi-caliber use. That was one of the first ones that we wanted to get out to the market, was the multi-caliber version. Now, what makes this suppressor different, and why does it make your LMT better? So, if you've been around for a while or been following LMT, you will hear people say that LMT weapon systems are what? Gassy. What does gassy mean? That means basically that the LMT is designed to shoot .556 ammo, right? And when you're using it in certain circumstances or whatever, your ejection pattern might be at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, sometimes 1 o'clock, depending on the ammo, the weapon system, what kind of suppressor, so on. With that, you might run into some issues with other suppressors that increase a lot of back pressure to the system. Surefire is one of them. Great suppressor, used by a lot of different individuals for a lot of different reasons. Most notably in SOCOM, they use the short 5.56 and a 308 on different weapon systems. The Carl Lewis. It's neat how you guys can change your nicknames. Anyways, so with that being said, suppressor choice can really affect the way your weapon system operates. When we got with the guys at LMT Advanced Technologies, we wanted a good suppressor that was modular, that you could use in a variety of different circumstances, but would work well with the LMT rifles. Good suppression without overpressure of the weapon system, and that is what is most notable on our suppressors is the lack of blowback that they have. It's not zero, it's not like absolute nothing, but it's extremely close. So we've gone down to the hard level of testing blowback. How do you test that? And okay, the thing with blowback is, there's no real good way to test it. How do you experience it? You get it back into your eyes. You get it back through the upper receiver and lower receiver after the weapon system is fired. Does that mean that it's going to be able to be captured? Not really. So what we do here at LMT is we built an enclosure that we put the weapon system in and completely make it void of all pressure and chemicals, or particulate, if you will. And then fire the weapon system, and all of that gas that would come back through the ejection port, back through the charging handle, between the upper and lower, that would come to the shooter, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, is now captured in the enclosure. We can measure what is added in parts per million. So we can shoot a Surefire suppressor against one of our suppressors to determine how much material has been added back into that enclosure through depositing of the gas. That's the most accurate way we can measure blowback. Another thing that we looked at when developing the suppressor was obviously its modularity, to keep it on par with our Mars system, the MRP system, the quick change barrels. Was how can customers use it? So we took kind of a play from one of the better companies in the commercial suppressor market, Dead Air, and use the industry standard base thread. So you could use their bases. I want to say Yankee Hill uses it. I think there are some silencer codes that you run this base as well. So you can thread on different manufacturers' bases depending on what type of muzzle device you'd like. And then when you use the muzzle devices, what does this weapon system come with? Let me go grab the weapon that I have back here. I'll show you. So by the guys in the shop, this one was aptly named the Quad God. Now, it is missing some attachments. I believe it had a Surefire light up front, but This is one of the original products, the MRP, which is the quad rail rifle length upper, sitting on our full auto Mars lower. Very cool. If you're not familiar with Mars, you can drop the bolt and catch it from both sides. You can drop your magazine from both sides. It's got a full ambidextrous safety and as well charging handle. So Mars is a pretty neat weapon system. You got the monolithic upper that you can quick change barrels. Quick change of barrels does a couple different things for you. You can either switch between calibers, like this is a longer upper, so this is a 14.5 barrel in here. We could do a 16-inch or a 14.5, 5.56, 300 blackout. We can switch between calibers. Can't run a piston system on this weapon. The handguard's too long for it, and we have an exposed piston block rather than under the rail piston block. So what you see is what you get. Now about the suppressor though, so you can tell that this is a welded baffle can. Let me see if I got enough light on this thing. Maybe. So welded baffle can. You do have a removable base and a removable end cap. Why do you need a removable base and end cap? CEO and founder of LMT Q. You guys are great. Well, one common thing that people always ask about is maintenance. How do I clean the thing? Well, cleaning a suppressor is a lot like cleaning the bottom of your shoes. You can clean it, but the next time you're going to use it, it's going to be instantly dirty again. 5.56 cans don't build up carbon as much as like 9mm cans, especially 22 cans. 22 cans develop a lot of buildup in there, and I've seen some 22 cans that were completely packed full, the baffles, and it's just crazy. I have seen it on pistol caliber cans as well. But what we're looking at here, I'll just take the weapon or the suppressor off. Let's see here. So what this is, and you can see as I'm turning this, this is reverse thread. So it's a left-hand thread with a Xeno style mount. So if you have dead air Xeno style mounts currently, whether they are half by 28 or 5/8, whether it's on 308 or 5.56, they will work on this. So your mounting system comes ready for Xeno. Now, like I said, this base is removable. So you could remove this and install chemo, which we have done in certain circumstances, and run chemo style devices. That is a great way to, instead of, if you don't want to do direct thread, you can throw on a QD ratchet style. So there's a lot of different options for that. Additionally, you can remove the end cap. You can clean down from the top of the baffle stack, and it does have some porting up here. Basically, what makes this can differently, or different from, let's say, a dead air can? This can was built and the engineered to reduce blowback. Now, there's a lot of the other suppressors out there that do it. That right there is an OSS suppressor. I believe it's a Helix. Reduces blowback pretty significantly. Good for that, but not the greatest on sound reduction. Or flash and what I like to call environmental disruption. So when you shoot the weapon system, is it tossing up the leaves and the dirt and the dust around you, giving away the shooter's position? These suppressors are specifically designed to avoid that. and also reduce your dB level. I believe these all have sub 140 ratings on them. There are quieter cans out there, of course, but when you shoot a quieter can, you know, there is no magic formula. The more you restrict in the can that gas and the bullet pressures behind the bullet or whatever, the quieter you're going to get. But that gas, that pressure's got to go somewhere. It just doesn't evaporate in the thin air, especially in the cycle of operations time frame that we're looking at. We're talking about a couple milliseconds here. So that gas will build up in the can, travel back through the barrel and down your gas tube. Or in the case of the piston system that we were just talking to Leone about, is you know, on a piston gun, it'll come back through the chamber and still dirty the gun up. It has to go someplace, and that's just the laws of physics and you know, path of least resistance. So what we did with LMT AT, Advanced Technologies, is we developed a can that would recirculate the gas throughout the can and down through the chambers. A term used by engineers is called non-stagnating. I think that's what they call it. Basically, what a stagnant baffle is the gas comes into the baffle and cycles through and stops in that chamber. Well, there's holes that run all the gas through these chambers, forward and back, and then obviously out the end of the muzzle device. There's initially one big chamber here at the back, which starts the flow of the gas instead of going down through the bore, but through the outside baffles. And that helps reduce sound while decreasing back pressure through the weapon system. So these are very good cans, one for modularity, two for weapon systems that may suffer higher pressures, using you know, military grade ammunition, 5.56 and stuff like that, versus the lower pressured 223. Or if you're running this on a 30 caliber, you know, you could run 7.62 by 3.9 or 308. So what we didn't want to do was build a suppressor that wouldn't run optimally on every weapon. One dealer of ours that very great guy, good guy, and I highly suggest you go check him out, is Pharaoh's Lead Farm, local here in Long Grove, Iowa. They have a big batch of these suppressors right now. As a matter of fact, the one that I'm playing with here is one of the first ones that was commercially released. So this is still an Ion 30, but this one is a little bit longer. If you're looking at this, and I don't have the standard Ion with me, but standard Ion will probably stop right about here. So this one has, I believe, one extra baffle in it to really reduce sound. It was originally developed in a trial program for some guys in the UK. Basically when they were looking at new suppressors. So I believe Pharaoh's has 4 or 5 of these, the long Ion, which is the only ones that we're going to make for these. There are some larger models that are planned for the future, but not like this. And they'll be probably more expensive because of materials being used. But if you want to get your hands on a limited production Ion right now, call up Pharaoh's Lead Farm. He also has one of the biggest supplies of the regular Ion 30. So that is a great resource, great guy. There's plenty of other dealers, and if you have a dealer that is interested in picking up the new line of LMT suppressors, Advanced Technology suppressors, then please do not hesitate to reach out to either LMT Defense or LMT Advanced Technologies. They have a website, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all which should be flooded with content here very shortly. So keep an eye on that. We have suppressors in stock, ready to go out the door to your dealer and ultimately to you. You can jump on those e-forums. I've heard mixed reviews about how they're running. I heard some people have gotten great service with them, and I've heard some people are still waiting, myself included. So pick up a new LMT AT ion while you can. We do have other accessories that should be coming out for them to make them more attractive. Base caps, muzzle devices, you name it. This will be a full feature platform that really complement the LMT family of weapon systems. They look good. Yeah. Sound good. Feel good. Is good. So if you have any questions, we can talk more about that. But basically just wanted to introduce you guys to the brand. There will be other items of a technology basis that will be released from LMT AT. Some of the big things about the system itself is that they're really designed to work well together. So in the future, you might see contracts where we are releasing both the suppressor system and the rifle together. One such thing is the MRGGS and A platforms. Both are using an LMT suppressor. That's very similar to the ion setup. So when it comes to clone rifles or whatever you guys are into, get ready for LMT AT to be a common thing that we talk about. So that's it, guys, for LMT AT. I mean, it's a short description, but you'll be seeing more of them. I'll show you this other weapon system that we got up here. Pretty neat little blaster. This is one that our key account manager Austin uses when he goes out and does demos or stuff with us. Shovel nose, pretty neat setup with the 12-inch piston on there. This is obviously running the OSS. I believe we had this set up for a recent request, and we just never took it down. They wanted to shoot OSS on our piston because I believe the customer already had OSS cans. So neat little package. Definitely fits the bill and runs well. We're really happy with the response that people have gotten from the shovel nose upper and its performance with existing piston barrels. So, how much is the grip with the counter? So, the grip with the counter, and this is Grantham asking, by the way. Hi, Mike. How you doing? How's your baby? The grip with the counter itself is not that expensive. It really, I believe somewhere in the ballpark of like $100 retail is what we're looking at for that counter. That'll go in the grip plus the grip itself. Now, where it gets expensive is the technology that runs the reader. That is where we are working on commercializing it a little bit. Currently, it is a little bit more sophisticated because a lot of, and this isn't a New Zealand weapon system, but a lot of our previous inventory control relied on RFID tags. Well, as you can imagine, there has been some, I guess, discovery in the the weapon community about RFID tags and their ability to be, Leonie, I know it's not you. I know it's not Grand Thumb. Come on. You're not hiding nobody. So RFID tags can be compromised on the combat field. So what we've done to kind of move away from that is to use a different technology that can't be open sourced as a reader on the field to identify where potential users can be. So with that, it's not as easy to just read and understand. It needs a special reader for that. So we are working on a way to more commercialize the product and get that out to the users, because I know a lot of people who are interested in gauging their weapon systems. Chad over at oh man, it's leaving me. The group that measures all of their guns as soon as they get them. They've done a good job at helping people understand tolerances and why ARs are built the way they are. That's not a bad thing. That's actually a pretty good thing, because that knowledge spread across the community really helps the community across the board. But those people who are very in tune with their weapon system enough to gauge the bolt or the lower receiver or something like that are going to enjoy the PAL, or preventative maintenance algorithm and logistics, I think that's what it's called, system that really helps you identify when your weapon system might need maintenance. So you can focus on going out and shooting instead of, did I shoot 75 rounds a day in training or 103? I don't know. My round counter got it, and it's already in a program for me. So that is one thing that will benefit the shooters on the commercial market once we get that a little bit more commercialized. But it shouldn't be that expensive. It'll be the cost of the grip and the counter plus an app fee, most likely. So what software facilitates the counter? So Scissor Me Timbers is it's not a available app or software currently. It is something that we have developed here. It uses a special reader. So right now, the reader either goes through a computer or runs through your computer, or it has a little tablet that will scan the grip when it's set next to it. So you have to be in pretty close proximity to it. And so any pics of spec wars in the wild? Will any of the YouTube D-listers get a spec war for review soon? A D-lister? Oh man, who would be a YouTube D-lister? Is that like, I don't even want to insult anybody by calling him a D-lister. I don't know. I know that there are a couple of spec wars out in the wild that YouTubers have. You should see more of them soon. We are working on catching up on production, but I'm not going to make any promises that they'll be available anytime soon. We did have a batch go out to a dealer down in Georgia, KF Armory, longtime dealer of LMT products, and we were happy to help them out. But I think they all sold in a matter of minutes. So, but we understand the need, and we have done some really neat updates on our upper cell to keep up with demand. So understand that we know that there's some commercial stuff happening with HR 1808. We've done what we can, on our end to work with the right people, make sure that we're lobbying against that. Nobody wants an assault weapons ban. I don't even think the Democrats want an assault weapons ban at this point. I think it's the party mentality that they are stuck with. I think if you talk to a lot of Democrats who own firearms, they own them for protection. They understand what they're there for. A handgun with less than 15 rounds of accuracy can only protect you for so long. So understand that. But, yeah. So there's that. But we are getting close to an hour now of chit-chatting. If you guys want to go ahead and ask any more questions, we will we'll answer what we can. Let's see. And I feel bad for not giving the guys and gals out there much more time to jump on the chat or see that we were having a chat. But neat thing is, it'll be live. You'll be able to watch it again. Not that you'd want to. Not too good of a choice for what you can do with your time tonight. Sister Me Timbers asks, will HR 1808 hit the LMT revenue significantly enough that you'll need to pivot hard if it passes? It's going to hit everybody pretty hard, in indirect and direct ways. Now, LMT, because of the limited amount of commercial production that we do, it might not hit only 13 people on LMT site was down half the time. Bummer. We were on to check into that, see what was going on. So LMT doesn't do as much on the commercial market, but without the commercial market, there is there's a lot lost to the international community, the law enforcement community, and the military community. So it's not a matter of, will this affect us? Of course it's going to affect us. It's going to affect everybody. It's not something we want anybody to have to deal with, and most certainly not the law-abiding individuals of the United States. So keep in mind that, it'll affect some companies worse than others. It's never a good thing for this to happen, and it's going to put everybody in a pretty bad way. So Rich said, hey, quick question about the buffer tube timing. There's a small overhand when it's timed all the way. Is that normal? The time the buffer tube. There's an overhand past threads. Guess they mean overhang. I don't know. So if you're using an LMT buffer tube, we do not have a traditional timing on our buffer tube. The tab actually sits offset of the buffer detent, which is completely normal. It won't sit directly behind it. And the reason for that is because we developed a timing between our lowers and our buffer tubes that if there were a catastrophic failure that would jam the gun up that you couldn't get it opened, you could still unscrew the buffer tube and clear the buffer detent itself. So yeah, it's designed like that on purpose. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, you could always take pictures of it and email it into service@lmtdefense.com, where one of our techs will take a look at the pictures, the video, whatever you want to send in to us, and give you a feedback on that and say, yep, that's good, or no, you might have something wrong, or let's bring that weapon system in or that component back in and really assess it and judge what's going on. Jay says, I'm late. Please post it on YouTube so I can watch. Absolutely, Jay, we will. Like I said, tomorrow or maybe the day after at the latest, we will get both June and July, or I'm sorry, July and August onto the YouTube channel for your enjoyment pleasures. So, besides that, guys, I don't got a whole lot else for you. I'm glad you stopped by, the ones that did. We will make sure again to get good content out there for you, so that way you can get on there and see some of the other stuff that we are. It's past the end of the threads on the lower. So I'm trying to understand. I guess Rich still is further explaining the problem on his upper or on his lower overhang. It past the end of the threads on the lower. I think it's fine. I think you're probably maybe misunderstanding how our buffer tubes work, but definitely call us in, send some pictures of what you're looking at. I don't think you have an issue with your buffer tube if it's an LMT, especially the lower. But we can take a look at it and work through any problems. But seeing what you're explaining will probably be better to do. CT, I know you missed it. 6 o'clock. We started at 5, but we're glad you joined and commented right at the last second. Let's see. Jason said, I hope you had a fun time on your trip. Picked up Trek Verve 1 a few weeks back to get some riding, and I had a great time. I have a Specialized Fuse Expert 29er. Took it out to Telluride Bike Park, and holy cow, was I not prepared for that. But I'm all in one piece. I got all my skin still, and had a great time, and felt like a kid again riding my bike. So definitely recommend getting, if you're an action sports kind of guy or girl, you like going fast or doing stuff outdoors. Mountain biking is a renewed activity for a lot of folks out there. So definitely check it out. Your dad says I miss you, so make sure you give him a call. But anyways, thanks for catching up with us, guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please call us at LMT Defense, or shoot us an email, or get on one of the social medias and leave a troll comment or something like that. We always enjoy a little constructive criticism. So besides that, I hope everybody had a great night, and you're enjoying the end of our summer here. We're getting into August. It's still pretty warm here in Iowa, but give it about 14 days and they'll be down into the teen digits again, and with no snow, of course. So, but thank you for joining us, guys and gals. Hope you had a good night, and we will see you next time.